Yo, how we doing today, guys? Super excited. I want to hear from you. Okay. Who's stepping on stage and making $1 million? Nobody wants to make $1 million. You're all fucking liars. Every single one of you. Okay. I'm going to go with Richard. Go.
So I guess mine kind of ties into what I think I've figured out as my why.
Yep.
And I think what I would be up on stage about is male infertility. The stigmas behind it, the helping through it, and the knowing that there's always options out there. I struggle with it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I want to improve my financial position so that I'd like to be able to start a foundation local to me that can help offset some of those costs of IUI, IVF, or even adoption.
I love this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, well, we have IVF babies, so it's just, I'm partial to this. But I think that this is massive because this goes in so many different directions, Richard. Like, if you think about the confidence issues, the insecurity, the anxiety, all surrounded by just intimacy, all based off of it, right? And then, I mean, this can go on and on and on. So I want to encourage you something here right now. First things first, you don't need to improve your financial situation to start this. This is something you're personally struggling with. This is something that you personally have worked through. Have you also had kids?
No, I haven't.
So that's even more painful, dude, right? I'm assuming you're very passionate about this because of the current struggle. Is that correct?
Yeah. This is actually my second marriage. And I fought through fertility issues on both of them. And I can see how it's affected me, and I let it affect myself to where I quit showing up.
Yeah, because it attacks everything about you as a man, right? If we're here to produce, right? To reproduce, right? And you don't get to feel that level of confidence, never mind just the emotional toll that would take. And men aren't allowed to feel for a lot of this sort of stuff, right? If you think about in a lot of relationships, and maybe you don't know this or not, but in a lot of relationships, if there's a miscarriage, it's all for her to feel, right? And I believe that we got to be there for her. We got to carry her for that. Absolutely. But a lot of men will still struggle. I know a lot of men personally who have wanted kids and didn't have kids, you know, so there is, I think that this is a massive, massive impact that you can make here. I think that if you started speaking on the subject, attacking all of the different feelings that you're feeling, right? You can always go back to what you're trying to send as a message, and we can create this as a foundation without you having a bunch of money, right? Now you are giving back. And hey, man, your story isn't over yet, right? So however you solve the problem, we'll say, whether that is coping with not having children or whether that's adopting or working through your issues, you know, there's lots of options. We don't need to go through that right now, but that's something that will be encouraging as you document this journey. Okay. So I love this. I think this is fantastic. I think that you should start immediately talking about it and attack the different issues. I mean, this is going to be everything from confidence in the bedroom to suicidal thoughts, right? And as long as you understand it because you felt it, right? Go ahead.
And I've already made one post about it. It was just titled "Male Infertility." I got a lot more reactions to it on Facebook than I did Instagram, but I have more of a following on Facebook than I do Instagram, but there was a lot of people out there that related to it, and quite a few of them that said thank you for having the courage to put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so you start to feel passionate about this because it's your struggle. That's what I mean, guys. Everybody just has to dig a little deep, right? What's your day to day? And when you start to recognize what you're feeling and you put it out there, people are not going to talk about this very well. We don't want to. It's scary and it's hard, right? So I have to put do not disturb on 1 sec, please. So yeah, you're going to find that you're going to reach a lot of people, and even those who don't want to say anything to you yet, right? There's somebody who resonates with it. This is massive. This is really good. So encourage you to dig deep into the pain. You have ideas how you want to hook people?
I think a lot of it starts with the mental aspect of it. You know, something that I struggle with a lot is, you know, definitely made me feel less of a man. And it's not just the men out there that need the help with it too. Even if it's on the male side of the issue, even if the male is the issue with not being able to have kids, it affects the female just as much.
Of course.
I mean, when you start talking about IUI and IVF, you know, the woman has to put in so much more their body to overcome that than the man does. And that's something that my wife and I both struggled with. And she said several times that she was open to trying IUI, absolutely not to IVF, but she only wanted to try IUI once.
And so those kinds of details could be tough for you to get into, right? Definitely you need to talk to her before you post something like that. But you can talk about the feelings that you have. You don't even have to be like I would say I'm an asshole when I call guys out, right? And you don't even have to be like that. You can just literally say something like male infertility is my problem, is a problem because, right? You can bring a sense of normalcy and awareness to the topic so that people are more open, because it's devastating for people who can't have children, right? And that is on both sides. You could create a message that helps women understand the perspective, because in struggling relationships and children, when you can't have them, well, that's a big problem. That makes things difficult, right? So you could sort of bridge a bit of a gap, because everybody just wants to fucking hurt. And very few times do we get to hear something like, when we hear about infertility, death of a child, things like that, it's not very common where that couple just was awesome through it, right? We end up hurting each other because of our own feelings, right? So this is a wonderful topic, man. Way to be brave, because it's also a little bit embarrassing. It makes you feel less of a man, is what you said, right? So you're not less of a man. It's just what's going on with your butt. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other things that you can do. You can look at ways that you can help increase the sperm count, for example. I'm not saying that's going to fix it, but we can look at a healthier diet. We can look at working out properly. There's lots of natural things that you can do that should be part of your journey, so people don't just sit there and go, oh, fuck, it's over. Right? And that's why I say maybe you'll end up adopting one day, for example. Well, that would give people hope, even if it's not ideal, quote unquote. I love this. Do you have any specific questions about what you're doing here?
Not right now.
Awesome. Just get comfortable sharing your truth. Easy, easy, easy. Okay. All right. Who else? Who else is ready to step on stage and make $1 million? Okay, go.
I already uploaded my post. If you don't mind, I'm just going to put it up quick so I can make sure that I kind of detail it, give you the details right.
No problem.
Essentially, what I would probably be sitting down and chatting about is the importance of building up others. Kind of funny because I think it was yesterday's call, you mentioned something kind of in that direction with me, which sent me on this wicked like tangent, kind of reflection upon myself and you know, do I really possess those type of skills to improve other people's lives by building them up? And I think I do, to be honest with you. I think I am very good at building people up, helping them kind of work through their issues, their pains, their struggles, and find a little bit of momentum to push themselves forward. So, still trying to find the post because I'm getting a little bit chatty. But essentially, that's really what I kind of was, talking about that. And,
I think this is a good topic because if you think about the amount of hypocrites that are out there, right? We're all kind of judgmental. We have these ideas and we don't even follow through. I mean, the easiest example that I could think of right now is I was talking to a guy yesterday and he's talking about faith, right? And Christians who have a bit of an attitude about how you should live, but then don't necessarily live that way. And then everybody gets bottled into this category, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're super, super real, right, and you are trying to lift people up and you're talking about, look, forget the skills thing for a second. You've got a positive attitude, right? And so if you think about that, that's kind of like leading in Lords. What do I tell you guys? I say you don't have to be the best man in the program. You don't have to be all the way through the program. You need to be in a better emotional fucking state than the guy in front of you or next to you or behind you. It doesn't really matter who's what. You're leading by making a clear decision based off core values, etc. So if you know all of that, Matt, and you want to lift people, you bring that same personality there, but just be real. I struggle with it here, you know. One of the reasons why I do this is because I feel good when I lift you up. Talk about why that's important. That's my message on gratitude when I give it, right? So I think as long as you're real and transparent, and I think this would be really good for you because it'll help you reflect deeper within, right? Where could you lift up the people closest to you? I think it's easy. How many of you guys feel like at home is the easiest place to relax and not lift up the people around you, right? Our partner. It's kind of the easiest one to let go, right? It's our partner, right? So this would help hold you accountable for everything you're doing in the reset too. I like it a lot. You know, you could even turn this, my mind's going a bit to a challenge, right? Kind of like a pay it forward challenge, but like an uplifting one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think you could have a lot of fun. You got a personality for it too, dude.
Yeah, and then I think it's real quick. I'm just looking through my notes that I wrote down. One thing that I thought that I said that was pretty smart was lastly, I discussed how important your own self-worth is, and that as long as you're not selling yourself out, it's okay to give out pieces of yourself that you don't expect back. Allow people to take a clone off your tree and plant it for their own growth, but only if you're strong enough to grow more branches.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize, especially if you think about the nice guy and people pleasing, right? We tend to not say no and just give too much of us away just to make everything easier, right? So I like that a lot. It reminds you, if it's sort of your mantra, it reminds you to focus on who you are always. It's the oxygen mask thing, right? If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else, right? That's why I love this, because you get to be reflective. I like this a lot. Pain. It's kind of hard to stick to the pain to hook people. So you got to be over the top with love, right? Because pain's easier to hook people, right? So if you can remind them potentially how shitty they feel when they're tearing somebody down to make themselves feel better, it never actually works, would be an example in my mind, right? But that's also being pretty damn real, because most of us don't want to admit that, right? We would rather victimize
I actually
ourselves.
think I touched a little bit on that as well. I did say, discuss how people can feed off your energy and your words, also how it can help them escape their own. Sometimes people fail to see what's right in front of them. We often look down on ourselves. When we look in the mirror, we don't see the beauty that everyone else sees.
Are you talking about actually believing in yourself right now, like trying to trust yourself?
I think it's more so just recognizing your energy and how to, I guess, spend it wisely with the people.
Yeah, I think if you focused a lot like the yes tone, the green light, you know what I mean? Like, again, filling your own cup. But I'm trying to help you relate this back to pain a little bit. Like, if you can remind them of the vampire they are when they're not focused on energy, right? An easy example for me would be sex, right? If we feel like we have to have it to feel loved, we're actually a vampire. We're not giving love. We're love taking, right? So if you can spin to real examples, you'll attract them more. You'll get them more intrigued. Because it's easy to just talk motivational. That's what I was saying the other day on the call, right? We can all drop motivational quotes. Right. Nobody gives a fuck unless you have a name.
Yep.
So, play with that a little bit. I think you're creative enough where you can. And if you're real, I think that it will flow nicely with you.
Yeah, I don't know, just sparked an interest in me, and I've been reflecting on it a lot, and I really feel that that's an area that I can shine in. So that's kind of why I chose that topic. Like, I read your description, and it like hit me like a lightning bolt. You know what I mean? I was just like, I know exactly what I want. I typed it out in my notes, and then I just kind of edited it quickly to make sure that it sounded a little bit more articulate. And then I tossed it up. So
I love it. Yeah, keep playing with it. I think you'll grow. And then if you figured out this balance thing a little bit more balanced with your time, as you figure that out pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I just kind of break it down to basics again. You know, it's not like I have 5 million people watching my videos. You know what I mean? So when the views get bigger, the videos should get bigger. Right now, I got to aim in smaller videos. You know, more attention to just everything in general. You know, keep it short and sweet for a little bit, and then as I grow my videos and all that stuff will grow too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we get down to like turning this into, if any, you want to turn this into profit down the road, like there's only so long that you do this. It's a means to an end. You're going to get somebody else to do it for you. I would never do my own editing again. You know what I mean? But you want to be making enough money to cover that, obviously. Don't really stress about it yet. It's good to know the skills anyhow. So balance the time.
Yeah, no, I'm not stressing on it at all. I'm looking future. Like, you know.
Cool.
Maybe after momentum's done and I continue to post, you know?
Well, that would be the idea, right? Each one of you should know exactly what you want to help people with, and or at least be on a roll where you're building this, right? Where you're figuring out more of the message, identifying more, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks, Matt. Yes, Serenity?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add on from the business call earlier. I heard back from the jiu-jitsu place that I'm inquiring about.
Yeah.
And they just opened the women's branch, and they do not have a single pink belt yet. I'll be the first one there.
Yay, congratulations.
So they have an interest.
Nice.
So on a wing and a prayer, I did let them know when I left the message that I am a pink belt and I would like to be in the ICP. Instructor certification program, and they happen to not have a pink belt in their program yet. Like I guess one of the guys might even be teaching the program because they don't have a woman in there to do any of that yet. So it might be part of my momentum forward in my dream since before I was married.
Yeah, what's this might shit? You guys, sometimes you have a dream since before you were married, since you were a kid, right? And so there should be no might shit. Just find a way to put it in there for you. Make it happen. It's a dream. You just said the word dream. You gave a timeline. Yeah. You know more about it. Almost always, we just have to allow ourselves the opportunity. Okay? None of this maybe shit. Okay?
I might have a job. I haven't talked to him yet, but it'd be nice if I had a job out of this.
Well, that's what happens when you start opening doors. Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're finding that in your city, that means it's probably an issue in a lot of places. So there's more maybe potentially online that you can do, right? Especially the more you tie in your story. Okay? So this, guys, I'll just build on this. We talked about this on our business call today, but this is the whole point about documenting as you go. It's what gives you credibility as you're figuring this out. Some of you don't even know where this will end up. I'll just use Matt for an example right now. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen after I keep posting after momentum, but we'll see. That's the point. The point is we're never really done. If you keep moving, if you're documenting along the way, but I'm going to pretend you are that motivational speaker for a second here, and a life coach, let's say, I don't know. But all of a sudden now you have this credibility because they've watched this journey. They've watched your truth. They've seen you fail. They've watched you overcome, right? And now you have credibility. Then you start getting testimonials and it starts to build and build and build. Okay, so I love this. That's why we say document everything, right? Show the video of walking into the studio the first time. Say it. I might even work here. Who knows? You know what I mean? And let's see what happens. I'm seeing a lot of cool stuff, guys, from a lot of you. And we're day 16 today. Like, a lot of you are making leaps and bounds, and many of you aren't there yet. Don't stress. The point is forward momentum, right? Get the ball rolling. And then you'll start to feel like that snowballs. It gets bigger and bigger, not out of control. Good shit. You're in control. Just don't be afraid. Okay? I pointed at you, Serenity. Okay. All right. Who's next? Who's stepping on stage and making $1 million? Come on. Patrick, go. Patrick.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was washing dishes. My bad.
You step on a stage tomorrow, you're getting paid $1 million. What are you talking about?
That's a good question. Let's see. I've been kind of indecisive about it. I've had issues with depression like my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's like led to a lot of like my like self-esteem issues and stuff, and eventually like drinking in college a lot. And so I don't know. I think I want to kind of like tie that into it somehow, but I'm really not sure.
This is perfect. I'm glad you brought this up right now because this is just what I was talking about. Some of you aren't there yet. That's okay. But depression, we know, is massive. Okay? So you could literally start with, you're not depressed with your life and fill in the blank, right? You need to fill in the blank, right? So what's something that you decided to do instead of drink? I'm not depressed and needing to drink, right? I'm not in college anymore. I'm responsible for my kids, whatever. And you start to just give what you've done, and people will relate to that, right?
Yeah. No, that's good.
So
I'll start thinking about that more.
yeah, think about that. Then start to tie in some of the other feelings that you have. When you're depressed, what does that mean? It means maybe what? I didn't get that job interview because I didn't feel confident in myself. Didn't have the energy to present myself, whatever. Somebody will relate to that, right?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's like prevented me from even doing anything. Like instead of trying at all, I would just like kind of give up before even beginning.
So,
but
that's amazing. That's a wonderful reflection that people should hear about, right? I'm sick of my fucking life passing me by because I'm too lazy to get off the fucking couch. You know what I mean? Somebody might tell you you're an idiot. Somebody else might go, fuck, man, I can't get off the couch either. What is this guy talking about? And they're going to lean in. Okay? Be that real. And then you'll figure out what you want to talk about along the way. Maybe you are the happy guy. Maybe that's your fucking Instagram handle. I don't know. Right? But the more that, this is such a cool example because you're going to get people going, thanks, man. You literally picked me up today. Right? And what do you think people need with depression? We need to be their light. So you can be your own light, and then you can lead others out of this low that people are in. And we can't make decisions in low. We shouldn't necessarily make them in high either, right? Emotional regulation. But it is a choice to stay in the low as long as you've got a reality check, right? So some of us with the brain issues, right? Well, sometimes we're not checked in reality. But we can never check that reality if we're sitting there depressed. So roll with this shit. Love it. Okay. Troy, was it you that was asking a question in my Instagram? Where did you go, Troy? Oh, there you are. You're muted, dude.
No,
That
wasn't me.
Okay. Okay, well, did you go further into your speaking on stage here?
No, if I was getting paid $1 million to speak on stage, I like the idea that the path, I guess, that you recommended, being a veteran, turned stay-at-home dad. So it just got me thinking and going down a rabbit hole, which opened up a lot of things where being part of the reset, you realize you are a narcissist and all of those things, and depression sets in from not having that military family community to, it just goes away and you have nothing. So you feel like you have nothing. I'll say it that way. So stepping on stage, I guess, again, the talk could be targeted towards those veterans who, once you retire, what do you do after that? And trying to get out of that depressed state, and especially when you start a new family or expand your family with young kids, and not necessarily making them your why, but that's a part of your new community that you need to focus on, and realize that you haven't lost the community you were used to. You've just moved on into another phase of your life, and you need to embrace that the same way you embrace the military.
That's it, right there. You didn't lose your purpose when you lost the military. You gained a whole perspective. That's a brand new world. Like, you're literally so stuck. And this is lots of careers, but we know that with military, you're hyper focused, do what you're told, follow the systems, follow the orders. You're fucking lost. So it's awkward to not have a career. It's awkward to be a stay-at-home dad. It's easy to get depressed, to feel insecure about yourself. Yeah, you also brought up narcissism. Let's say you do feel like that. Well, then you got more message. You can fucking change. You can grow. That's the message that I teach. I don't want people to be telling the rest of the world ever again that narcissists can't change. The interview that I did in Atlanta is going to be the pilot for a talk show, because they had a bunch of narcissist survivors on there for different series of shows. But I was the one saying we can fucking change. People need to hear stuff like that. I don't think you're a narcissist, dude, from everything I know about you, but you definitely, like most nice guys, have a lot of the characteristics. But guys, people have these traits. But what do? We just lump them all in together, and then we label, and then we identify, we tell them who they identify with and what the possibility of change is. I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing people talk about how somebody can or cannot change. Because you know what? I don't decide and you don't decide. We only decide for ourselves. So if you haven't survived it, you really have nothing to fucking say. And if you're living in it with somebody else who's hurting you, that's why Leah has a message. You're still responsible for your fucking choices. Whether you're being hurt or abused or not, you're still responsible. Does that mean that we shouldn't love them, help them? Of course. But you've got a much more powerful message there, dude. Because it's really all just back to being a victim. Go ahead, Leah. You want to add to that, I think.
So Troy, I want to say, one of the things that as I've been walking through this journey and creating stuff, content, devotionals, etc., for folks who identify as victims of narcissists, I struggle with the label victim as much as I struggle with the label of narcissist.
Beautiful.
Because what I've been able to see in myself is that I too have narcissistic tendencies. Honestly, I think everyone on this call has to have some narcissistic tendencies because you're on this call. If you were like everybody else and didn't have some sense of importance, thinking you were better than other people, thinking there was more in you than anyone else had in them, you wouldn't be on this call. So I think all people who find success in life and have believed they could find success have to have a narcissistic tendency or two, or they'd just be like everyone else, punching clocks and living a life of mediocrity, because they wouldn't have any sense of positivity about themselves. So don't necessarily lump yourself in with those toxic individuals who are abusive towards others. It's different. You may fall down sometimes. You may treat somebody unkindly. You may be somewhat ashamed of an interaction or a string of interactions you've had with somebody that you genuinely care about. But the reality is we are all jerks at times, and you just can't label every jerk as a narcissist, including yourself. And victims need to get over themselves 9 out of 10 times. The reason you're a victim is because Serenity was talking about it earlier on the call with the jujitsu and how it heals the soul and heals the parts of you that you can't resolve, the traumas that have experienced, whether it's sexual assault, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And guys, I don't ever mean that what the girl's wearing is why she got assaulted, but at the same time, if she'd been wearing a snowsuit, they wouldn't have known she had a body under there. I'm not saying it's her fault, but there are things we do in exposing parts of us that allow people to see how they can victimize us. My dad said, don't ever give somebody your goat. Don't let them know where to get you. And I think a lot of times those victims of narcissists are victims because they like to be needed. They like to try to fix somebody. They have their own broken pieces that position them perfectly to become the victim. So don't just whatever you do, like, heck yeah, you're a badass. And it's okay to think you're a badass. It's okay to tell other people you're a badass as long as you follow it up with badass activity and you serve others in the process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The fact is, guys, almost everybody who calls somebody a narcissist is acting like a narcissist when they do it, number one. Number two, oh, fuck, man, Kathryn got sent. We ended up taking this piece of content down because it was too much to explain, because it was from a podcast, and it was where Kathryn said, we talked about, I think it was the episode when we talked about her calling the cops on me. And we talked about how, or Kathryn said it like, hey, if you're being abused, okay, but you were acting like a fucking cunt was the word she used on purpose, okay? She's not justifying the abuse, but you can maybe stop if you're not victimizing yourself and realize, did you potentially push a few buttons that maybe you shouldn't have probably pushed? That's the snowsuit Leah's talking about. And so we can do the same thing here. Let's not involve your partner for a second. Troy, you no longer have purpose in the military. Now you're at home, you're taking care of these kids, you're struggling to identify with who you are as a man, okay? The confidence that you need. We don't even need anybody in our life to sound like a fucking victim right here. I can spin this into your fucking woe is me story all day long if I wanted to. Or you can join my calls like you do, and I can say, get up, stand up, and get your fucking ass in gear. Let's go. That's it. See, we don't need to be a narcissist to be an asshole. You can literally be an asshole to yourself and hold yourself back. So, Troy, you have tons to talk about, dude. Just start posting.
Yeah, right. I agree. There's I've lived a very full life. The military takes you all across the world, and because of my upbringing prior to the military, or not my upbringing, but how I lived prior to the military, then going through 20 years in the military, and then being retired for 10 years, I picked up a lot of experience and a lot of life experience. So I know I have a lot to share. It's and I've overcome a lot. It's just trying to figure out the best way or how to package that up and put it together. And Kathryn was very helpful on the reset today. I'm glad. I don't know if that was always a thing where she spoke, but if it wasn't, I'm glad it's there now where we get a woman's point of view on a lot of these topics. But that was one of the things that she covered today. You can have narcissistic tendencies or qualities, and she believes everybody does, but that doesn't make you a narcissist. So,
honestly, guys, it's true. And it's like, I don't think you're a narcissist if you're in my program. I just think that nice guys possess more of these qualities, personally. We get stuck in the nice guy triangle. You're in a low. You want to blame your partner instead of take responsibility for yourself. It's it, right? So yes, Kathryn. Yeah, we love doing these other calls. Me for Kathryn's women and her for you guys. So I'm glad you like it. Don't be afraid to add part of the story. You don't know where this is going. Guys, if that's part of your story right now, that's part of the documentation. I don't know where this is going, but I have, what did you just say? I have all these life experiences. I've been all over the world. And yet I still can't figure out what I want to do without the military. Thank God for my kids. You know, whatever. This is real. It's authentic. And you know what you're going to find? You're going to find brothers all over the world that are like, yeah, I felt like that. But I'm actually not from the US. I'm from Ireland. I don't know. You know, and they're going to be like, it's the same thing everywhere. Right? So that's the beauty when you focus on being authentic, being real, and sharing that and just saying, I don't know what I'm doing yet. Well, I hope this post motivates you. As scared as I am, as shitty as I feel about myself, I'm taking one step forward. Man, I don't work with just military guys, as you know, but there's enough of you in my program to know this is a really big struggle for a lot of people. And I'm sure women feel the same way if they leave the military. I'm sure it could be the same way for a woman also for when you give up a career to be a mom, goal or not. How many moms on here would feel comfortable saying, I thought this is everything I'd want, but it's not as exciting as I thought it'd be. In fact, it's terrible. They scream all the time.
Yeah, my wife on call. That's what she feels.
No, I know that. But you could tell the same story, and you know what? Fathers would relate, and mothers would relate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, that's one thing we're pretty open about it. Our biggest struggle is the children's emotions. Woo! It's hard. It's the hardest one, you know? But I think that people are so afraid to say, I just wanted to just hit my kid today. We all feel like that at times. We're not supposed to hit our kid, but we all feel like it. Let's get real. You know what I mean? Speaking of narcissists, those little fuckers. Like, come on, how many of you have been gaslighted by your kid? Every day. Come on. That's some good shit. We should all make content on that. It's real. And new people becoming parents who think they have it all perfect. I don't want to scare them. I want to prepare them. There's a massive difference. That'd be awesome if more of us had a better example of what to expect. This is all real shit. So some of you that are struggling, just look at your actual day-to-day. Seriously, keep a note on your phone. Pay attention to what you're feeling. If you need to, set a reminder. Ding, ding, ding. Feeling, question mark. Get real. If you're in my program at Kathryn's Wheel, you could Google it. Just Google something called the feelings wheel. Identify what you're feeling. Most people can't because you were all told, don't cry, don't scream. There's no monsters, nothing to be afraid of. Which means you don't know what you're feeling because you're feeling the secondary emotion. You're not allowed to express it. Can't get your need out. So go look at the feelings wheel. See what you're feeling. That's your struggle right now. That's the thing that you can relate with somebody on. That's the thing that you might feel comfortable when you overcome, helping more people get over it. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to pull Shannon. Come on. Unmute.
Still so new at Zoom, so is the mic working?
It is. Don't worry, I won't judge you much. Okay, so what's your day-to-day like? Do you have your plan?
Gosh. Everything is very mixed up right now. I'm going forward in what I've always believed, but yet there's so much to pull it back. I'm not even in my own home. So I'm kind of living out of another lady's home trying to do what I can, but all my stuff is back at the house. That part is hard, but I guess my whole thing would be, I always did, like when you go through these courses and stuff, when it says always to look forward, and you guys have mentioned always to look at the best in people. And I would say the biggest thing I'm struggling with now is That's what I did. And people saw that vibe and would have never guessed what we went through. And everybody thought we were a power couple. But some crazy, wild stuff has happened to me, emotionally, physically, sexually. But I always still looked at the best. And so I guess what I'm trying to overcome now is when you've looked for it and you do look at the best, even in the worst of things, and it still kicks you hard in the butt where it takes you down. I thought we had hit rock bottom, but my body went down to nothing. I went to 80 pounds. Even my body started eating my muscle away, everything. So there's so much now. There's so much more that's been thrown. I'm always about, my whole goal was always healthy and to get people to learn how to live simply, but with natural foods, and to bring in natural tinctures that didn't cost people so much money. That was my goal. We live in a boreal forest. I wanted to show people how to live life abundantly without the cost of because we all know we have bills no matter what, right? That we can't control. That was my goal, but yeah, it got dragged down lots and I always kept looking good. So there's that too, where when you've actually looked at the most positive and in the end it turned around. So it's like, how do you go forward looking at the positive, but still bringing those boundaries?
Well, first, you got a lot to unpack here, but I'm going to summarize it like this for you, Shannon. That's a gift. If the worst case scenario, you can look at the best, especially in someone hurting you. That's a gift that everybody is supposed to have. I preach this every single day. It's exactly what allows Leah to have her business and mine have mine, Kathryn have hers, where we don't victimize ourselves because we take responsibility. That's why you can find the strength to look at somebody who's hurting you and still embrace the love for them. But that's what we're supposed to do, especially if you're a Christian, guys. Jeez Louise. Like, if you know the rules, come on now. Okay? But to answer your question, I think that you'll identify that the line for boundaries in a different way if you started to share this truth. You talked about a number of things, right? The first thing that comes to my mind, for example, is being 80 pounds. I'm sure you have a picture and what the stress is to overcome. Why is it more important to find the strength, that same strength that you call on when you find the best in someone? I'm telling you, that is a gift. That's an absolute gift. So this is what I mean, guys, when you don't know what you're thinking, like sometimes you'll have something like this. It's a strength that nobody could ever take from you. And in that same strength, that's actually learning how to use that strength to create the boundary for yourself, right? You know, in our programs, we teach inspire, lead, ask, and we ask as long as we can be patient and tolerate because we don't want to rush it. And then we would motivate with a boundary. But you need to be confident in who you are. So that same love that you have a gift to give other people that are hurting you, Shannon, how's that doing for yourself?
Yeah, I think that's been the hard part. You know how you people please, right? And people please to get the attention back or feel good about yourself. And this is the weird thing is I've actually been very confident in myself, but I don't want to, like when I see other people or see they go through things, I feel their emotion and I want to give them peace. I want them to experience, but I'll do it at my expense. And so I'm very confident in myself, but it seems as I've given out in those things, I've literally, physically, it took everything out of my body. So mentally, all that stuff, I'm there and I'm still that same person, even though there was offense for the vibe, I guess I brought out years and years later. And so that's why I had to keep pulling back. So I got to a point where what everybody loved, I pulled back a lot. And that's what affected me. Yet I see everywhere I go, that's what people want. Now I need to do it. I want to do it and be confident again while still protecting now so I don't drain myself out.
Well, I think that what you're describing is sort of like not even the comfort and complacency that a lot of us get. It's just losing your way, right? So I describe things like this, like sitting in your pain. If we go back, I didn't say it earlier, but if we go back to that narcissism comment, right? It's often like, for example, codependency. The victim of narcissism is allowing themselves to be in a situation where they do that. But Leah mentioned it about to fix them. Okay. So if you could think about that, potentially you're allowing yourself in the situation so that you feel good fixing. That could be a childhood thing. That could be, I don't know. But I would encourage you to spend less time thinking about it and more time about the joy in the person that you lost than doing. So if you're talking about physically being healthy, for example, you know what you're doing. It sounds like get to it. Get back to it.
I've been.
Perfect. And describe that to people, you know? And it doesn't have to always be like a picture of when you were super unhealthy, but that's going to get a lot of attention, right? It's going to help you reach that message.
Yeah.
And the more that you fill cups, not by giving to people please, right? But just by giving, right? When it's not taking from you. See, that's the challenge that we find. Usually we give to get, right? And so you're giving and it starts to take from you because you're expecting something in return, right? That's the problem with people pleasing. Okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, is I don't usually expect anything in return. I don't want anything in return. I don't even want to be recognized. I think I just feel people's pain too much.
Well,
and I put too much on myself.
That could
and
be.
Not in a victim way. I actually always liked it. But I guess there's more to it because what's happening in the marriage.
Probably, especially because then you would feel his pain more, right? And so.
Well, I always try to give everything he needed emotionally to come to him because he can't deal with conflict. So I gave and I gave less and less of me because he needed the intention. And it's hard because we have 14 kids and
holy moly.
I think it would be easier if going through where we're about to lose everything in the farm and everything because it's just weird. It would be easier if I didn't have such little kids still. And he's brought in the adult kids, boys. Yeah, there's just a lot emotionally that I'm dealing with. So there's so much I want to go forward in. And my body is at lower than I ever thought it could be. I thought rock bottom was when I was, 90 pounds, not 80, and where you're having trouble opening a jar. And it's not because this is what I want to help people because I'm eating healthy, I'm eating clean. I be careful of the chemicals, but stress, I want to be able to show people that I want to overcome this so massively and show people, even while you were doing the best physically, health-wise, that you can overcome and take things back and thrive. I mean,
that is a strong message, right? And again, you guys, a lot of you get so, I don't know what I want to listen. What are you feeling every day? That's it. This is beautiful. Also, do you ask for help?
I tried. We're living in a country, we're Saskatchewan. And North Country, we're very spread out. So some of your best friends that you call neighbors are 45 minutes away.
Oh, I see.
And unfortunately, some of these women that want to stand beside me and help me, and they can't understand because they're like, we've watched what happened, Shannon. You're in a bad position and you need to report stuff. And I'm going, no, but I'm still believing in the love. And so when I talk to them, it's too much for them because they've gone through past. So I feel like I can't because I can't put them, I feel their pain as soon as they're too stressed to hear some of the stuff, right? And so right away it squeezes my chest and I don't feel, and I can't go through therapists because I already started one and it was costing money and he got super upset because we don't have.
Not right now. Well, when I was thinking about help, first of all, Kathryn's a lot like you, but when I'm thinking help, I'm thinking about even the kids. Right? I mean, sometimes we don't want to do something like that and you want to give. So my fear is that you would not ask for help when your kids are old enough to help. This is a fact of life. Do we want it? No, but maybe we need to do it. Right?
Yeah. And that's where the kids did. They always did. We live on homestead. Everybody looked up to our kids of what we've taught them and everything. Loved our kids. Like our kids they can forage. They know the things of the forest. But, it's like my husband hit a midlife and all of a sudden, almost right down to my little kids have been turned against me because as soon as all of a sudden I was going down further with the abuse. They've got on full on internet, right down to my 9-year-old has been handed a phone. And yeah, I can't compete against that because our morals and everything are going right out the window. And so, yeah, I'm watching. I got warned a year ago that all my kids would be turned against me, and I never dreamed it, especially after having 14. So, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'd encourage you to think a lot along the lines of the way that we always do. Like, what can I do differently, right? Where am I not loving them? Because ultimately, possessions won't. I understand why it can, convince them, just using the phone example. But at the end of the day, almost everybody looking for love, approval, validation, looking to someone else for more of what we need to do ourselves, right? And it starts from childhood, right? So, yeah, I don't know your whole story, and this is obviously a lot to unpack for you, but at the end of the day, if you can always focus, Shannon, on what you can do differently, how could I do it differently? I think that there's probably a lot more of you that gives to get than you realize because you give so much, but it's maybe not what you think, right? It's so that you get to feel good healing somebody, or maybe that's just the way you live because that's, you feel everybody's emotions. And so you've taken this burden on, so to speak, right? So sometimes we create this reality that's not necessarily the relationship we want, but we can only look at the parts that we contribute to. You know what I mean? If naturally you're drawn that way, that's who you are. So we're taking instead of giving the same way. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I think, it just came to me. Things will come to me. And it's funny, when lots of stuff comes to me is at 5 a.m. But the one thing is I've tried to look at that back in childhood and history. Like I did grow up in an abusive home and everything, but I think maybe I give not to get back personally, but to feel like I don't want other people to suffer. So it's not back that I want it personally, but I give because I want everybody to feel what I wish I felt and the freedom.
Yeah, I'm going to treat this differently. I'm going to think about it in an easier way to understand. If somebody likes to take care of someone, make dinner for them, for example, right? You feel good when you do it. They don't have to go hungry. I've taken care of them. I've done. But at the same time, there is a gray area quite often for people that why they're, actually doing it. I feel good when I make you dinner, when I take care of you. I want to do it. Okay, then you are giving to feel good. Instead of, this is why it's a gray area, instead of just giving, and because of that, consequently, you get to feel good. It just happens, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we're doing things just to get back. And it's that gray area, okay?
Yeah, or doing stuff just to keep things from blowing. I guess that's kind of my last couple of years. It was to keep stuff from blowing.
Also massive. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's total give to get. That's holding back who you are. It's walking on eggshells, filtering what you say and do, all because I'm afraid of it blowing up. I'm afraid of no intimacy. I mean, we deal with this stuff every day, right? And so all of that is giving to get instead of just showing up. Sweep up the eggshells, right? Be happy. If the benefit, or Kathryn would call the marriage the beautiful byproduct. So same thing. If the benefit or beautiful byproduct is you feel incredible, great. But that's but we don't give just to get. I know I talk about that a lot, even with momentum. When you fill your own cup, when you give, you feel incredible. Well, that's because you need to understand it. But when you start to break it down, you'll realize if you're doing something that may be holding you back, right? There are some people that will have to stop giving altogether, say no to everything, right? They'll be, say they have to talk to their spouse. This is definitely a nice guy thing, people pleaser, okay? And I think there's nice girls too. So some people will have to, in their recovery, learn to say no, like literally say no to everything for 30 days. Don't give, just be selfish.
I guess that's what I started to do and things got uglier. So that's why I think I feel I have a message. I totally agree with what you just said. so things don't blow up. I'm like, okay, I get that. That makes total sense that you're still giving to get because you don't want the blow up. So that makes sense. Plus, I totally did give because I really felt that even though there was some really wrong things the other side, I still felt that he totally deserved it because I was so thankful for other aspects. So it's kind of both. Like I do it out of total because I had no trouble owning that shit and saying, you know what, at the same time, this is a weird way to ask for something, but I do want to give that much because I do feel that grateful and that thankful. But like you said there in the last couple words is then you have to start saying no. And that I got encouraged by a few people, Shani, you do have to set some boundaries. And that's when things got really a lot worse. Is because I did start.
Okay, so if you have no respect, you guys, this is one of the reasons why we don't love boundaries. If you have no respect, and certainly in any relationship where it's volatile, I'll call it all violence, okay? If you have no respect, there's no place for a boundary. This is where therapists are fucked and they've been fucked for years. How can somebody respect a boundary if they don't even respect you as a person? So we think we should go use a boundary. Listen, hey, if you want a boundary so you can leave, that's different. But that's not who I help. I help people who want to save their relationship. You have a powerful message. I've been abused, but I learned and show love through that. I understand that there's more to the story that none of you can see. Well, fuck, man, that world out here around us in Saskatchewan, here in BC, and in the whole fucking world needs to hear more of that message. That's it. And again, it's not speaking just because I'm talking about who I was, but man, we get so, we're so hurt by the children, by the parents, that hurt these children, that neglect them, that abuse them, that scream at them, that beat them, that sexually assault them, or let it happen in their life. We feel very terrible for these children. Where the fuck do you think men like me came from? Like, how can we love a child and feel so terrible and forget because we victimize ourselves that this man or woman never learned the skills? How can we possibly have not connected the dots here? How can we think we're so much fucking better? So you have a very powerful message, and people will argue and fight you and try to tear your content down, they will stop you because they would rather blame somebody. And it's that message that Kathryn said, right? She's not excusing the abuse that I did, but she pushed the buttons. She won't even, whatever it was, I don't know what it was. I was in my own fucking reality and drunk, but she won't even tell us what it was. Probably doesn't want to give people the idea. Smart. My wife's fucking brilliant. But if we're pushing buttons, what do you think is going to happen? This is different than there's characterological and there's situational abuse too. If he comes home on a Tuesday night and beats you just because it's Tuesday, that's different. We got to get you out, right? He's probably not going to change without some different kind of help, right? And then there's situational, which is more like, yeah, well, it's not excusable, but triggers. You guys, you want to know how fast triggers happen? This is my favorite example. I throw Kathryn some wipes one day. It catches on my finger. So from the kitchen to the couch, and it hits her in the head. Okay. A few minutes later, maybe 3, I pick up one of the kids' sweaters off the floor in the living room, and I chuck it to the couch. Kathryn jumps high off the couch. Trigger. Minutes later. And yet we have no patience for the ones that we love. That's why I said you have a gift. And you will be ridiculed for that gift. But that's because the world would rather victimize themselves. That's why we all have jobs. Because we're all.
So how would I start I'm trying to sign up with Facebook. We've shared our Facebook our whole time. And this is what's really funny is if you go look at my 2 businesses, I have a chicken business, mind you, I kind of put that in the back.
Oh my, Kathryn just tweaked. She's what? Chicken business?
Yeah, I hatch heritage chickens, and I deliver them across Saskatchewan.
I like this one.
But right now I'm not doing it. I have my customers writing me like crazy, but they're back at the farm, and yeah, it's really hard. And I'm, it's hard because I'm watching my customers who know me across Saskatchewan going, hey, are you getting these eggs going? Are you getting in? Yeah, it's just been hard. But that, like, people could see, like, before Facebook did its weird holdbacks on how you can advertise animals, it was amazing what I did on that page. And if you go look at our bison page right now, I do all that stuff and I'm great there. And now I'm like struggling how to do this. Plus all our stuff was shared and I'm kind of scared. And I did start up an Instagram under a different email, but it still might be under our iCloud. And I don't know how I'd start up another